Hey Google, play the latest Joe Rogan podcast on Spotify.
Playing the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify. The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day. All right, good to see you, sir.
Great to be with you, Joe.
It's a perfect time to bring you on because things are getting very wild.
Yeah, there is a lot of misinformation. You know, some people said I invented 3i Atlas, this object, in order to distract attention from the Epstein files.
Is that what people are saying?
Yeah, and I said, look, this object is the size of Manhattan Island. It's at 4.5 times the Earth-Sun separation. If I was able to put it out there, you know, I would be more powerful than the Pope. And because we're talking about a giant object that you can see from any place on Earth. You know, you can buy online a telescope that will allow you, 0.5 meter in size, that will allow you to see it. It's out there. It cannot be faked.
Well, those people, you can't listen to those people.
I don't listen to those. I don't listen to many people, you know.
Initially, a lot of people were dismissing your concerns, and they were saying that this object is nothing but a comet, and it's very normal. But then, as it got closer, and as we got more data, it seems like you're correct.
Well,
This is a very unusual object.
There is something really important to recognize here, that usually when you deal with scientific matters, they have very little impact on the future of humanity. Very little. You know, if the neutrino has a little bit of a mass, doesn't really matter. You know, when we discovered the Higgs boson, the biggest impact was to confirm some idea we had back in the 60s. And, you know, obviously that affected, you know, those people who got the Nobel Prize. But most of us continued as if nothing happened. However, here, if we ever encounter alien technology,
take the pedals apart after.
everything will change. It will affect the
shit.
financial markets, it will affect politics in a major way. So my point is simple. This is different than other scientific matters, and the intelligence agencies know very well that events with very small probability have to be considered seriously because they could have major implications. Just think about October 7th. The Israeli intelligence agencies had a theory that the Hamas will do nothing. And they got data that indicated something is going on out there, but they dismissed it because of their theory. Now, because as a result of their mistake, which was clearly a blunder, a lot of people died on both sides. For that, this could have been avoided if they were to consider a black swan event, an event that you put a small probability for it happening, but you look at anomalies in the data and say, look, the implications are so huge, we have to consider it. And, you know, this idea was already considered by the philosopher mathematician Blaise Pascal. He talked about God. And he said, look, of course, you might think that God doesn't exist, the probability for that is small, but the implications, if God exists, the implications are so huge that we have to discuss it. That was the argument, Pascal's wager. And the intelligence agencies know that. Believe me, the Israeli intelligence agencies will not make that mistake again. Now, here comes an object from outside the solar system, and it shows anomalies. The scientists would say we should be as careful as possible at talking about anything other than a rock. Now, they say that when they know that humanity launched a lot of space junk, you know, a lot of technological objects to space, and we also know that there are 100 billion stars like the sun in the Milky Way galaxy alone. Most of them formed billions of years before the sun, and there are billions of Earth-Sun analogs. Now, we all believe that we came out of a soup of chemicals. You know, that's the scientific narrative of how human intelligence came on this Earth. And so it's quite likely that, you know, we are not the first one. Sorry to break the news, Elon Musk was probably not the most accomplished space entrepreneur since the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. And therefore, we should consider the possibility that things like us existed long before us. And you can ask the question, how long does it take? Our own technology, the Voyager spacecraft that we launched out of the solar system, how long does it take it to move to the opposite side of the Milky Way galaxy? You know, thousands of light years away, takes less than 1 billion years. And that means that all these civilizations that
I gotta pull my fucking pedals apart after this.
their history initiated billions of years before ours could have done it. And all we need to do as responsible scientists is to check if among all the rocks that come from outside of our backyard are really rocks, or maybe one of these objects might be a tennis ball that was thrown by a neighbor. And the reason I say that is, you know, we live at our home, on Earth, next to the sun. We look around us in the cosmic street, and we see a lot of houses just like ours. There are billions of them, probably. Now, my colleagues, those scientists who think traditionally, they say, well, you know, microbes came to Earth very early, therefore they must be everywhere. So let's define our highest priority, searching for microbes on other houses in our cosmic street. And I say, good, you can do that from the vantage point of your home. You can look through the window and search for microbes in your neighbor's yards, but you would need to put $10 billion to develop a big enough instrument that would be able to detect the chemical fingerprints of microbes, you know, on exoplanets. And think about the possibility that there is a resident in one of those houses. You know, that resident might show up in your front door at some point, or you might see an object that arrives to your backyard or your mailbox from that resident. A black swan event. Or you might see some construction project from a distance. That might be easier to detect than microbes. So we should hedge our bets. You know, we should invest billions of dollars on both fronts. At the moment, the scientific community is willing to allocate more than $10 billion to searching for microbes, but no recommendation is made to allocate any federal funding to the search for intelligence. And I say that is an oversight.
Now, they have found evidence of microbes on Mars, correct?
Well, it's not
Evidence?
conclusive. We need to bring materials back. It's called sample return, and NASA has plans. We need to bring a sample back to Earth so that in our laboratories we can do isotope analysis and make sure that whatever signatures we see on the rocks there that do look as if they were made by microbes, because we know that Mars had an atmosphere like the Earth. By the way, Mars may have had life before the Earth because it's a smaller body, so it has a bigger surface area for its mass. The mass of the object tells you how much heat it can retain from the formation process, and then the surface area tells you how fast it can cool. And Mars could have cooled faster than the Earth. So life may have started on Mars, actually, because it had rivers, lakes, oceans of water, and it could have been actually delivered to Earth. You know, we might be all Martians, and when Elon Musk, you know, considers going to Mars, it might be the second trip around. We might be going back to our childhood home because there were tiny astronauts inside rocks that were chipped off the surface of Mars that arrived to Earth and seeded the Earth with life as we know it.
Panspermia.
Yeah, and in fact, you know, we can find out if we get this material back to Earth, as NASA is planning to do, hopefully within a decade, then we can make sure that these were microbes, and perhaps we can infer whether the building blocks of these microbes are similar to the ones we have here on Earth, whether the DNA, RNA kind of process took place in both places.
Have you ever done any research on the structural anomalies that are on Mars, particularly the right angles that appear to be a square, this enormous structure?
Yeah, I've seen the data. It's not conclusive, but it's intriguing because both Mars and the Moon have no atmosphere right now. So what happens on Earth is that when an object roughly the size of a person, you know, or smaller, goes through the atmosphere, it burns up, creates a fireball, just like an atomic explosion, you know, and actually you have an object of order a meter colliding with Earth every year. Every year there is an atomic explosion size fireball in our atmosphere. It's not reported in the news because it happens pretty high at an altitude of 50 kilometers, so it doesn't do anything. And 71% of the Earth is covered by oceans. But yes, so these meteors, and they are quite important. Obviously, we know that the dinosaurs 66 million years ago were extinguished by a giant impact by an asteroid the size of Manhattan Island. And we are aware, by the way, that such an impact could endanger us. And that's why the US Congress tasked NASA to find all objects that come close to Earth with a size bigger than a football field, about 140 meters, so that we avoid the fate of the dinosaurs. So we think we are smart, we can see these rocks coming, but just imagine alien technology. It will not follow a path that you expect if it has some intelligence in it. And that's a risk that was never attended to. And I wrote a white paper to the United Nations and to the International Astronomical Union to develop a strategy for monitoring interstellar objects that come from outside the solar system, like 3I Atlas.
Yo, what's going on, just mods?
That show anomalies that
Thanks
could
for popping in, my
potentially
brother.
be technological in origin.
The structures on Mars, like what do you think when you look at them? When you see that one that looks
I
like
think
a
it's very
square?
intriguing. Both Mars and the Moon have no atmosphere, so the objects that come into them do not burn up, as I mentioned before about Earth, and therefore they serve as museums. Okay, so any space junk that might have landed on Mars over the past 2 billion years would not have burned in the atmosphere. It would have
Put some
landed.
new pedals
and
on,
we
put
can-
some new springs
we
in,
need to check
because I didn't like
the surface,
fucking
even if
mod
we
I did
know
yesterday.
that there wasn't any
Just taking some fucking
civilization
O-rings
out there over the past 2 billion years because conditions are really harsh.
Right.
Mars may have collected technological debris from other civilizations because it would stay on the surface. It's just like a
Yeah, but
museum.
this is an enormous structure. I think they think 300 meters.
Yeah, but that's not
possibly
enormous because
quite a bit longer.
3I Atlas, the size of 3I Atlas,
Right.
is at least 5 kilometers in diameter. And I derived it in a paper a couple of weeks ago because we know that it's losing mass. So, and
Fuck yeah, bro.
It's mostly from the side that is
Thanks
facing
for
the sun.
subs and the
And
support.
you would have gotten some recoil as a result of that in the opposite direction, just like a rocket. And I used, together with two colleagues, 4,000 data points from 227
Let's see how the results line
observatories around the Earth of 3I Atlas that monitored
Hopefully I
its
didn't
motion
lose one of them,
across
which it
the
looks
sky.
like I already did.
And we were able to
Fucking
say
great
that
at that.
the trajectory is sculpted only by gravity. There is no evidence for this recoil. And that means that the object is very massive. And I derived a value of 33 billion tons. A huge thing, which if you take solid density, it means it's more than 5 kilometers in diameter. So when you mention a few hundred meters, that's nothing.
Right.
And this object, by the way, was discovered just over the past decade of observing the sky, So who knows how much debris collected on the surface of Mars
I
or the
didn't find
Moon,
that other boat,
because
though.
there are good museums, for. And by the way, I see that as their most important value. Let me just say one thing about my fundamental point of view.
Okay.
Each of
Well, I
us
got it.
would live for about 100 years if we are lucky, right? That's the kind of. It's pretty depressing, right? Because there is so much we would like to know.
Fuck
and
yeah,
we
bro.
have only 100 years, so.
I'm always just chilling.
That already tells you that you need to be modest and humble because
Sometimes a little
you
too
don't
much.
have a lot of time, right? So
Right.
why engage in conflicts? Why reduce the lifespan of other people, in wars? It makes no sense, all of this.
Right.
You have limited time, let's just use it for something constructive. Anyway, we are born on this rock, which is just 3 millionths of the mass of the sun. It's leftover material from the formation process of the sun. Some debris was left over in a disk, and the Earth was made out of that. That's it. And it's just a speck of material, nothing significant. And this Earth was moving around the sun 4.54 billion times before the Vatican even existed. And why do I say the Vatican? Because the Vatican put Galileo in house arrest when he said,
Shit on the pedal and
I
then
don't
the
think
drill
everything moves around the Earth. I see some moons through my
Not all the
telescope,
way.
you know, I see some moons around Jupiter, and they don't seem to revolve around the Earth, they revolve around Jupiter, therefore the Earth is not at the center. So they put him in house arrest. Today they would have, you know, cancelled him on social media. And my point is, that's the first time that, you know, humans they want to think that it's all about them, you know, like, and it's not surprising. But the Vatican admitted their mistake. In 1992, they issued an official letter saying Galileo was right. That was 350 years after he died. And, you know, it's the worst public relations affair that you can have, to admit that you were wrong for you know, like 350 years. And how could they have avoided that? Very simply, if they said, we have more money than Galileo, we will build an even bigger telescope to figure out the truth, and we would prove him wrong. And then they would have found that he was right. And so then they would have corrected course.
Or they would have put more people under house arrest. That's probably what they would have done.
Yeah, so my point is, it's really important in cases like this or 3i Atlas, it's really important to get as much data as possible. Because once you reach a certain threshold, you can't shove anomalies under the carpet of traditional thinking, the way that my colleagues do. Just to give you an example, the first interstellar object was Oumuamua.
my fucking great.
Okay? And it was discovered 2017, and it was really strange because, you know, it was shaped like a pancake based on all the data we have, and it was pushed away from the sun by some mysterious force without showing any evaporation, no gas or dust around it.
See what I mean about
What did these conservative comet experts say?
Sticky.
Most recently, just
I like that they're
in
harder
December
now, but I don't want
2024,
them to
there
be
was a
sticky.
paper of them
It should come
saying
back like that one. This one's harder.
it's a
but
comet.
It's not sticky.
It's a dark comet. In
I
other
don't
words,
know.
a comet where you can't see the
Taking those
cometary
O-rings
tail
out for
around
sure.
it. So it's just like experts, you know, specializing in zebras. And they go to the zoo and they see an elephant. So then they say, oh, the elephant is a zebra without stripes. And I say, no, it's a completely different animal. You know, a spacecraft would appear differently than a rock, than a comet, because it will not have a cometary tail. It could be propelled by something else. So let me go back to the big picture that I mentioned before. So we live on this Earth, moving around the sun, and my colleagues in academia, you know, one thing I often say is common sense is not common in academia. Because my colleagues in academia know very well about the story of Galileo. They know very well about the possibility of black swans. And they say,
Yeah, dope.
it's an
And how'd you like it? Did you need to take some time to get used to it, or
as smart as
how'd
we
that
are,
work out?
near another star. And I say, no, it's an ordinary claim. Why would you think it's extraordinary? And by the way, if you decide not to collect evidence, not to
I found it
look
way
for
better,
then you will
but
not
yeah, I
find
did
it.
realize
So I say,
it's going to take some getting
and,
used to,
you know,
although it's only
I
been
say
about an hour.
extraordinary evidence
I've driven
requires
with the,
extraordinary
with the new
funding.
springs.
You really need to put resources to find the evidence. By not attending to this possibility, you will not, by not imagining this. And by the way, I much prefer to listen to imaginative science fiction writers, you know, first class, because they're much more interesting than second class scientists who don't have an imagination, and they not only have a problem with discussing alien intelligence, they also have a problem with whoever discusses it, and they would try to suppress that voice. And I think it makes no sense whatsoever, because the public really cares about it. You know, my essays on medium.com, they get a few million readers a month now. The public cares about it, the public funds science, therefore scientists should attend to this question, are we alone? It's the most romantic question in science. You know, it's like, so just to finish my big picture before we get to more. So then, you know, we live on this planet. Everyone says, okay, we are not at the center of the universe, but we might be the only intelligent species out there.
This episode is brought to you by Happy Dad Hard Seltzer. A nice cold Happy Dad is low carbonation, gluten-free, and easy to drink. No bloating, no nonsense. Whether you're watching a football game, or you're golfing, watching a fight with your boys, or out on the lake, these moments call for a cold, happy dad. People are drinking all these seltzers in skinny cans loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
But a happy dad only has 1 gram of sugar in a normal sized can. Can't decide on the flavor? Grab the variety pack. Lemon lime, watermelon, pineapple, and wild cherry. They also have a great flavor
feel
in
that.
collaboration with Death
Gonna
Row
take some
Records
getting
and
used to,
Snoop
but-
Dogg. They have their new lemonade coming out as
Definitely
well.
better in like
Happy Dad,
competitive
available
racing games. You hit
nationwide
the brake
across
better.
America and in Canada. Go to your local liquor store or visit happydad.com. For a limited time, use the code Rogan to buy 1 Happy Dad trucker hat and get 1 free. Enjoy a cold Happy Dad. Must be of legal drinking age. Please drink responsibly. Happy Dad Hard Seltzer, Tea, and Lemonade is a malt alcohol located in Orange County, California.
Again, we need the next Copernican revolution, the next Galilean revolution, to realize that there is a smarter kid on the block, okay? And it's just like the experience of my daughters on the first day to the kindergarten. At home, they thought that they're at the center of the universe because they had their learning was based on a data set that was limited to home. It's just like LLMs, artificial intelligence systems that learn from their data sets, and they had limited environment. And then when they went to the kindergarten, they realized there are kids just like them. Some are smarter.
Right, now the
So
hard
we are
part.
yet to mature in that sense, and that's the big picture. Now, why is it so important for the future of humanity? Because, the Earth would not exist forever.
Jeez,
By the way,
Dustin.
when people talk about global climate change and so forth, they don't realize, the issue is not the Earth, the issue is humanity, the future of humanity. And, the
I like
Earth
those
itself
incredible.
would be very likely, based on detailed calculations, it will be engulfed by the sun in 7.6 billion years. And here is something that you won't find much discussed. The moon, because of the friction on the envelope of the sun, will crash back to Earth. And then the Earth will move all the way to the center of the sun. Nothing will be left. No monument will survive 7.6 billion years ago into the future. And we have an obligation, if we want to be remembered in cosmic history, we have an obligation not to go to Mars. That's not really a great vision. Going to Mars is just like, you have a group of chimpanzees.
Yeah. Yeah, I found the clutch to be
living
like
in
a little
the
bit
jungle,
hard, but
to
be honest, I've driven stick lots.
And then
And
one of the chimpanzees
when I
looks
bought a
far-
brand new
far away into the
clutch for my car,
horizon and says,
the brand
"Oh,
new
look,
clutch
up
was
there,
stiff.
There is another region
So, and then a
that we
racing
can
car
go to."
clutch
And
is
it-
probably even stiffer. I
Actually,
wouldn't
it's
know.
clear
I've
that there are
never
no
driven one,
bananas
but
there. So the same is about Mars.
you know what I'm saying.
Elon says, let's go to Mars to save humanity, but it's actually not a great place to be on.
Yeah,
There is
you
no
gotta start somewhere. You have to start somewhere
No,
if you
so
want to
here's my-
populate a planet.
So here is my point.
Okay, here's your point.
And you'll see what I'm talking
makes
about with
much
the
more
springs
sense for
over
us.
there.
To invest in building a platform in space that can accommodate humans, not rely on another rock that happens to be near us with much worse conditions. It's a desert, no atmosphere. So let's build a space platform, go on it, and make sure that it's safe for humans to live for long periods of time. We can produce artificial gravity by rotation. Now, you say, well, it will cost a lot of money, but we're spending $2.4 trillion every year on military budgets. If we were just to change our priorities and say, we want to build Noah's spaceship, in analogy to Noah's Ark, to save humanity from the great flood or catastrophe that will happen on Earth, you build you put a fraction of these $2.4 trillion a year. And I'm willing to bet that within this century, our engineers, architects, scientists, if you put a level of funding of $1 trillion a year for the next several decades, we will come up with a concept that can accommodate humans in space much better than Mars can.
Okay. I want to get back to Mars because the structures on Mars, why would you think that they came from
Oh, shit,
space
eh?
debris rather than a prior
That's trippy.
civilization?
Because, Mars...
Let's take a look at it first. Jamie, will you pull up those images? So what's fascinating about the images is the right angles, right? Like that one that, yeah, that's good. Like that's kind of
I will
crazy,
say though, like
isn't
I
it?
don't have to
And
push
that
my
doesn't
clutch all the way in anymore,
strike
which
me
is a
as
relief.
something that landed there
Because
from
the
space.
fucking
It looks
original
like
clutch is
structure.
like you
It's
got to
just
put it all the way to
too
the floor,
even.
so you hear like a
Well,
fucking
it could be that
could be.
really
it could
stupid
be if,
tapping
the
of the
evolution
two
of
pieces of
intelligence
plastic
on
hitting.
Mars was accelerated by a factor
Whereas
of 2.
now it's
You know,
like it
that's
doesn't
not a
even
big
go
factor.
that far.
Factor
There
of
must
2,
Right.
be
Like,
meaning
there's
that
a grommet digging
intelligence
actually, yeah.
arose on Mars
Right.
2 billion years after it formed, rather than in the case
Doesn't
of
even
the Earth,
make that
4.5
sound.
or so.
Right.
And you know,
If
one
they could
thing I
get something
really
quiet
want to
up
do
the
is
steering
if I
wheel now,
ever
not that I give a
have a
fuck,
say
actually.
or go to Mars, I would like to visit those caves,
Oh yeah.
the lava tubes in Mars, because they are protected from the surface, you know, bombardment by cosmic rays and all kinds of things happening, the ultraviolet radiation. So in those caves, I want to check if there are any prehistoric paintings or any technological objects there. I completely agree with you. A factor of 2 is not a big deal. And you can ask also whether on Earth there was a sophisticated
Sorry if I don't look at the
technological
chat. I'm not used to
before us
modding on.
that somehow, you know, either through
On live.
self-inflicted wounds or because of a natural catastrophe disappeared.
Oh shit, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that, especially now that they're looking at the pyramids.
Slow lanes on an
that
Xbox.
appear to
2
be underneath the
Xboxes.
pyramids that they're examining. Those Italian
respect that,
scientists
man.
that have found these structures that are
It ain't
up
about
to
what
2
you have, it's about
kilometers
what you
deep.
do with it.
Right.
There's some wild stuff in Egypt.
Well, I want to see that data. I haven't seen the paper itself. I just saw
That's why I'm
reports
not
about it.
running out and trying to
But,
fucking save up now to
definitely
buy a
on Earth
fucking
as
Mozart
well, and
5
the
or
problem
something.
of Earth is that
Just wanna be able to
documented
use
human history is
one
only
station
8,000 years old.
on both
And in 8,000
PlayStation
years,
and computer.
you know, it's just a millionth
And swap
of
wheels out.
the age of the
Or in
nuclear
addition to
galaxy.
buying wheels, I'd rather buy more wheels.
Including things like
You know,
the
one wheel a
Spectral Evidence
paycheck or
there,
something.
so that's
Well,
11.
$50 for me. I don't know what it costs for you over
it's
there.
not
where
really
you're at.
documented in written form. You know, like.
Right.
So I'm talking about,
Perhaps, though.
yeah. But you are correct
Fucking
that
quick release setup I bought, it's only
our
20 bucks.
knowledge
So.
of what happened on
Kinda
Earth
why I
is
went with the
really
cheaper
limited.
quick release,
'Cause
so I could
the
buy
human
more hubs.
species existed for a few million years, and we have documentation at the level of 10,000 years. If
Could've
you go
went with,
back
like,
to
a more
that,
expensive,
it would be 11,000.
bigger
Not a
not
lot.
much more.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
but
they
the
Also
issue
thought
is-
about the
Actual
weight
evidence,
of
right?
Right.
all
There's
that
a
shit.
lot of
Exactly.
evidence because
Exactly.
a lot of evidence
G29.
gets swallowed by the Earth,
exactly.
especially over long periods of time, which is why it's so fascinating looking at that thing on Mars. Because if there was any kind of life that was capable of building structures on Mars, it had to be a long time ago. Like when was Mars?
I feel like rebuilding
there's
this
a bunch of
plastic
theories.
case
Maybe you
for
can
this
help me.
thing
Like, what do you think is
altogether,
the
to be honest.
predominant theory that explains the lack of atmosphere on Mars? Do you think it was an impact?
No, Mars is a less massive planet than the Earth, and therefore it has less gravitational grip on its atmosphere. And as to why the atmosphere was lost, there are
Okay, now
various
which one am I
ideas.
happy with again?
You know, it may have
I
to
gotta
do
take out the
with
brake and the clutch.
an eruption on the sun
brake.
that removed it, or the magnetic field, the lack of a strong enough magnetic field to retain the atmosphere. We don't know for sure, but we know it happened about 2 to 2.5 billion years ago, at the middle of its life.
Can I ask you this? At
Yeah.
2.5 billion years, was it closer to the sun?
No, it was roughly at the same
Exactly
place.
the same
Yeah.
distance?
Mhm.
Trying to hold on
Yeah,
to these little
and
fucking tools.
And then so 2.5 billion years ago, it lost its atmosphere.
Yes.
So if it did have life, that life would have to. So we would have to be looking at something that's literally 2+ billion years
Yes,
old.
yes.
The remnants of a structure, which also seems kind of unlikely, right? It also seems like there probably wouldn't be much there.
I actually did a calculation. The biggest risk for anything on the surface is all these impacts by asteroids, and I calculated that.
And micrometeors, everything, right? Because there's nothing stopping.
That's right. And I calculated the amount of energy over a few billion years that was deposited on the surface of Mars
Yeah.
is equivalent to, hundreds of Hiroshima
Quick, easy thing.
type nuclear explosions per
Knock
square
on
kilometer. It's really huge.
Right.
And because you're integrating over billions of years.
So that square probably wouldn't be there anymore.
Well, there could be some relics that somehow stick, like it depends what it was originally,
Right.
the Empire State Building, even
If it was
after-
enormous and made completely out of
Yeah.
stone, like the pyramids, maybe that's what would be
maybe,
left of it.
maybe. I think we should be definitely open-minded and guided by evidence. That's the
Right.
key.
Well, that's
And
what's interesting.
This
is
fucking
that is
thing.
that is evidence. We should
Get
go
the
there,
fuck off of
you
my
know,
shit.
clear the dust and see if it's just
Fuck
a rock
this
that
O-ring.
happened to be shaped like that. I mean, you could have rocks that are shaped like that.
Let's bring it back to this. Is it 3AI Atlas? Is
No,
that
3-eye atlas.
3I Atlas?
So 3 means it's the
Granite
third
is still
object
in there.
identified by survey telescopes.
ones
Over the
we-
past 8 years, we didn't have the technology before that, and so we just don't know how much traffic there is of
Right.
interstellar.
We missed a lot.
So we had, you know, the first survey telescope that found Oumuamua was Pan-STARRS in Hawaii, and the reason it was constructed is
Fuck,
because
that
the
Drake's
U.S.
friends
Congress
a lot.
tasked NASA to find 90% of all objects bigger than a football field passing close to Earth. These are potential killer asteroids that can destroy a
Hard to
region
push
on
out.
Earth. We want to protect the Earth, so we want to know
The
about them.
original one's
And
like
they
a
asked
fucking bubblegum machine. and shit.
NASA and the National Science Foundation to search, you know, to build observatories that will search for such objects, and that's why Pan-STARRS was established. And then it saw a near-Earth object, so they flagged it for that reason, and they realized it's moving too fast to be bound by gravity to the sun, and that was Oumuamua. And then it looked weird. Now, I had no agenda. I was working on cosmology. At the time, you know, I was working on black holes. I was the founding director of the Black Hole Initiative at Harvard, and Stephen Hawking had Passover at my
Nice,
home
nice.
in 2016. And this
super
object was
dope.
discovered a year later. And I said,
Gotta
well,
post
okay, that's
your shit. I
interesting,
wanna
but
see
it
that.
has anomalies. You know, the amount of brightness
Check it
coming
out.
from it by reflecting sunlight changes by a factor of 10 as it's tumbling. That's really strange. And I started getting more and more into the anomalies. And I
So you
noticed
had no, previous to that, you had no real connection to the UAP
Wanna fuck
phenomena?
up.
Nothing.
zero.
Nothing. So you're
I-
just basing entirely on the data that you were getting from,
Yeah. And
how do
at
you say
the-
it, Oumuamua?
Oumuamua.
Oumuamua.
And, you know, I am driven by curiosity. I'm no different than the kid that I was. You know, I grew up on a farm, and people who knew me back then
Alright.
say I didn't change.
One.
I'm not willing
Two.
to
I already took this
change
one.
what I say just for political benefit or
Holy
for
fuck.
just to be liked. But I don't have any social media accounts. I don't care about that. But when something
Thank
looks,
God. Somebody.
well, it's thanks to my wife, not God. My wife said, you should not have any footprint on such. So she's really wise.
She's wise.
And that was more than a decade ago.
Wow,
So-
she spotted the problem real early.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Catherine Bigelow, the Oscar-winning director of The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, takes you deep inside the world of U.S. government and military, a world most of us never see, but that impacts us all. It's an authentic look at how America might respond to a nuclear attack, showing the human side of impossible decisions under unimaginable stress. A House of Dynamite, now streaming only on Netflix.
Sounds pretty
And
fucking
now
whack,
with
Joe Rogan.
AI, we're talking about social media on steroids.
Yeah,
It's really bad. By the way, the
propaganda.
main problem with AI that I see is not so much that, you know,
Oh,
they
good,
will
you think,
bring calamity on their own. It's that they would drive people to do crazy stuff. So
Appreciate
they
you,
will
man.
manipulate the human mind in ways that will
Watch
make
it
us
daily.
the robots. You know, it will not need access to the physical world. It will control the minds of people in a way that will create a
the
lot
big
of
one
damage.
ever
And we
when
see
I'm
that
married.
already.
It's
The
already
polaris-
happening
Exactly.
with AI
That's the
using
biggest
bots
risk.
on social media.
And nobody is
I have to go for a
attending
rip
to that. And
soon.
the question is,
They're just
how
mods.
do we
Once I
suppress
get my shit back
the
together.
amazing polarization that we see in society where, you know, bullets are being shot?
Yeah.
don't know if I'll be
And
streaming
I really
fucking,
worry about it because,
driving,
and
man.
so humans
See how I
may
fucking
actually
feel
bring
after putting this all there.
their own doom by self-inflicted wounds because AI manipulates their mind.
I think you're right. I think in that regard, I think people need to stop using it. I really do. I just think it's not good
That's
for
what
you.
I'm doing.
I just think
I'm not using AI at all,
you
by
can
the
use
way.
it sometimes, but I treat it like a glass of wine. Like, don't drink wine all day.
You know,
It's not good for you.
I'm working with students, and every now and then, a student delivers a paper to me to look at, and I realize some of the references
That was
do not
back
exist
then.
because I know the literature. You know, that I ask the student, what is this? I've never heard about this paper. And the student says, oh, sorry. And it turns out the AI just took names of authors and
Yeah,
faked
make
a
fake
reference.
things, yeah.
And the same thing within the paper itself. There are statements that are clearly because the student was using AI. I'm really worried about that because the young people are not reading.
Right.
They don't read history, so they go to protests that make no sense.
Right.
They don't, and people say, oh, that is always the useful thing to do. But no. This one is triggered
Right.
by misinformation. It's
And
triggered
it's
by
organized.
lack, and it's organized, exactly. And so that's one thing. But then they don't go to primary sources to figure out the truth. They don't have critical thinking. And I really feel that this is a big risk because, AI is getting more intelligent, but humans that use AI are getting dumber.
Right.
They don't think. So I think that the AI would supersede the cognitive abilities of humans sooner than expected because humans are getting dumber. I mean, I see that.
No, I don't think people are necessarily getting dumber, but I think they're getting lazy because of this. I think
No, they're
I guess a
definitely
lot of
getting
things
fucking
is
dumber, Joe. You're
exactly
one
the
of them.
same. I think they need to be taught
Sorry,
how to use
Mr. Rogan.
it.
Well, I get a lot of emails saying I collaborated with my favorite AI app, and here is
Just don't
what
want
it
to be
said.
caught
And
for saying
Yeah, but
fucking some
I
shit
think
that's
we
gonna
need
get you
to
fucking
teach
caught
people
up in
how to
some shit.
use it because it's a new thing, and that I think that's where a lot of the problem comes from. That
Right.
people are using it in
I need a little piece of tape on
substitution
that.
for learning, but you instead can learn from it.
Right.
But you've got to use it in that way.
So there are two
Fuck yeah.
existential risks in our future. One is artificial intelligence, AI. The second one is alien intelligence,
Right.
also
See
AI.
if 3 Atlas takes
And
a
the
fucking
question
turn
is,
tomorrow
which
for
one
the
would
worst
arrive
or the
first?
best.
Let's go back to one more time. Oumuamua.
Oumuamua.
Okay, I don't want to screw it up. How large was that?
That was the size of a football field.
So
of order 100 meters.
small in comparison to 3i Atlas.
Oh yeah, that's my point. That 3i Atlas is 1,000,000 times more massive, at least 1,000,000 times more massive than Oumuamua.
Right.
And I immediately, as it was discovered, it was July 1st, and my wife asked me to go on vacation to Aruba 2 days later. And as I was going on the plane and as I arrived there, I realized, wait, that doesn't make sense because we should have seen millions of Oumuamuas before we saw this one. It's so big. And I also realized there is not enough rocky material per unit volume in interstellar space to deliver such a giant rock into the inner solar system within a period of a decade. You would expect it at the very optimistic scenario where you package all the material into objects that are 5 kilometers in diameter. You would imagine once
It's
per
going back
10,000
together, mate.
years.
Fuck yeah.
So I wrote immediately a scientific paper. My wife was not happy that, on our vacation, I was sitting on my computer, but I just couldn't resist it.
Right.
And by the way, this paper I submitted for publication. That was July 3rd or something. And then the editor said, oh, the paper is fine, but you have a concluding sentence at the end where you say, well, unless the object is smaller than estimated, maybe it was targeting the inner source. That was my solution to say, one way
Definitely
out
gonna have to
of
wear
this
shoes
dilemma
with
of
this
why
shit
is it
now.
so big is if it was targeting the inner solar system by design. And indeed, the trajectory is aligned with the plane of the
without the fucking
planets
sharp
around the
pedals.
sun to within 5 degrees.
Just doing the
The
springs,
chance
I
for
have
that
no choice.
at random is 1 in 500, okay?
Beat your fucking
And it's
feet
moving
up,
in a
man.
retrograde trajectory opposite to the motion of the planets, which is ideal for it to release mini probes that will get into the planets.
Yo, what up,
It
Nerva?
gets close to Mars, it gets close to
Just doing
Jupiter,
some mods.
it goes on the opposite side of the sun relative to Earth when it's
more
closest to the
pedal
sun.
shit. I think I'm
And that's
done
the
with the
time when a
pedals now.
spacecraft could do a maneuver to take advantage of the sun's gravitational assist. All of these are interesting indications that may imply that some intelligence designed the trajectory. So I had one sentence at the end of the paper saying, maybe the
What up,
trajectory
brother?
was
What up, Sim
designed.
Ready?
And the editor said, no,
Yeah, man, it's
the
getting
paper
there.
will not
Starting to
get
come
published
around.
unless you remove that sentence.
A bit on the crazy side, mate.
So now, when you listen to Comet experts that say, well, this claim or that claim was never published in a peer-reviewed journal, guess what? They are the
Like,
editors or the
$80
reviewers
extra dollars
who are
into these fucking
blocking
pedals now.
the discussion on possibilities. And I think it's inappropriate,
Might as well
especially in
rebuild
the
the
case
holder
of
for them all
alien
together,
technology,
fuck it.
because it could be a black swan event.
If I
It
break
could
a
be
wire, it's
something
not
that
that
affects
hard
the
to
future of
solder.
humanity, and if we behave, very conservatively, we might not last very long.
Well, it's also arrogant.
It's
you're-
arrogant.
Much respect
Th-
back
this
to you too, bro.
object is
Sorry for the late reply. I'm
shows
there
that
screwing
there's
this
no
shit.
iron.
Oh no.
And it-
So yeah. So then the composition
Yes.
of the plume of gas
So
around.
this is before you knew about the composition.
That's
that
right.
You wrote this paper.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
So,
so
as time is going on, you are being shown to be correct.
well, we
or-
found more anomalies.
More anomalies.
More anomalies.
But this is
So
not a
for-
normal
silver,
thing.
yeah.
Not a normal thing. So for one thing, there was a glow that looks like an extended feature. And everyone said, oh, that's a tail. That's the
Right.
signature of a comet.
Right.
And I said, wait a minute. It's pointing towards the sun. It's not pointing away
Figured
from
why
the
as
sun.
well fill it.
Usually
When I
cometary
wanted to start
tails are
doing
made
this
of
shit, it
dust
wasn't
and
easy
gas,
enough to
which is
find
pushed back
out and
away
see
from the
people doing
sun
it, so
by the
I started building
radiation and the
confidence,
solar
mod
wind.
my wheel and
you
do
know,
shit.
and
Until I seen
so
slow lane
this one
on
was
there one
pointed
day.
towards the sun,
started
not away
chatting
from the
with them. I was
sun.
like,
The question is
how hard is
why?
it?
And
just started talking to me.
actually,
He's
I
like, "It's easy,
calculated
just
that
do it."
you know it appeared very
And I drew
clearly in the
symbols and was
sharpest
like, "Fuck
image
it,"
we
and I
had
started
from the
pulling it
Hubble Space
apart.
Telescope.
That like
which
intimidated
showed
me
an
because you
elongation by
gotta pull
a
the
factor of
computer
2
chip.
towards the sun.
But you don't really
But
have
we
to
were
do
looking
fuck
at
all
it
with
like
it.
a
Like I thought
cigar.
you had to fucking
We were
resolder
looking
or
almost
something on the
along
computer chip.
the cigar
Which
long
I'm not
axis,
into, you know,
within 10
replacing
degrees
micro
of the
switches.
object-sun axis.
Fucking
So we
shit
were
like
looking
that.
almost edge on.
Mhm.
And I calculated if you were to correct for that, this would be a feature that is 10 times longer than it is wide.
I'm
You
from
know,
Edmonton,
and,
bro.
and that means it's like a
Edmonton,
jet.
Canada,
So
Alberta.
the object had a jet in front of it towards
Fucking
the sun. The
city of
question is why?
independence.
And
Fuck
you know,
Canada.
the comet experts ignored it and just said, well, you know, comets are strange. You know,
We
who
try to
knows?
separate.
But my point is, this is a blind date of interstellar proportions, and my advice on blind dates is not to speak or say
Fuck
what
yeah,
you
bro.
think this is, but to observe the other side.
400
You know, the best
something
way
thousand
to
votes.
respond to a blind date
That
is to
shit's gonna hit
observe
a
the other
fucking-
side. Don't speak, just observe
Definitely
the other
gonna
side,
hit.
because
I
it
don't
may
know,
be
like,
different
how politics
than
work,
what
but
you think,
the
and
next level.
maybe on one of the dates you will have a serial killer on the other side.
The fucking
boy.
teachers gotta get
Now,
back to work.
explain,
bitches.
if you
No
could,
offense,
how
but-
we know the composition of
My
the
son's
comet.
been off of school
So
way too
we
long
can
now, and I'm
figure out
like, it's starting to fuck
composition
his
of
life up.
A plume of
His
gas
fucking normal routine, you know?
by taking a spectrum of it, which means you
It's
basically
like he knows how to spell. The other day he
have
was
some
asking me
kind
how
of
to spell and shit
equation
again. I'm like,
that
fuck, I ain't got
breaks
time to be all off work plus
light
teach you.
with different wavelengths is bent at different
But you know how to
angles,
spell.
and so you spread the light into the different colors. And if you do that,
Right.
you can find the fingerprints, the spectral fingerprints of specific atoms or molecules, because each atom or molecule has transitions. I actually taught it just 2 days ago in a class that I teach that is obligatory at the Harvard Astronomy Department, where I was chair for a decade, you know, like between 2011 2020. So this is the mandatory class, and I just taught how, you know, spectral lines emitted by atoms and molecules just 2 days ago. So this is a very well-known thing, and we know the wavelengths of those, and we use them to identify the composition. You know, we know which atoms produce these spectral lines, the fingerprints. It's just like fingerprints, okay? And so what was found, you know, and that's by multiple teams, there are 3 papers on that, we found nickel, a lot of nickel, but very little iron. At first, no iron whatsoever. Now, usually in all the comets in the past, from the solar system and also from interstellar space, there is one comet, Borisov, that was found. It's the second interstellar object, which looked just like a familiar comet. I had nothing to say about that one. It looked like a comet, behaved like a comet, it was a comet, but it had similar abundances of nickel and iron. The only place where we found before much more nickel than iron is in alloys that we produce industrially. For example, for aerospace applications. Nickel alloys have a lot of nickel, no iron. So maybe the skin of this object is industrially produced. That was my suggestion. But what the authors of these papers said is maybe nature is capable of going through the same chemical pathway of producing nickel without iron as we do in our industries. So they made the conjecture that this carbonyl pathway, which is well known in the industry world. Carbonyl is the pathway, the name of the pathway. They said, well, maybe this carbonyl pathway happens in nature. We have never seen it before, but that is their explanation.
Is it possible that nature could construct some sort of a nickel alloy?
No, it's not an alloy. It's just that somehow the nickel gets released, the iron gets suppressed. Nobody would argue that, you could sort of separate nickel from iron because
they do look dope.
Together
Thanks, man.
in exploding
The Momo
stars.
steering wheel
And
the
in
Momo
fact,
pedals now.
the composition of the sun has more iron than nickel, 10 times more by mass.
Pretty dope.
So
Trust it out.
we just don't know, as in the case of this jet that I was mentioning, which recently turned into a tail now over the month of September. And also, why was it changing structure is not clear. There are lots of anomalies. There was also a very negative polarization of the light. And also, 2 weeks ago, I realized the arrival direction of 3A Atlas was within 9 degrees of the WOW signal that was detected in 1977, which was an enigmatic, powerful radio signal that definitely came from outside of this Earth. We don't know from where. It was coming from a source that was approaching the sun, and the chance of it aligning with the arrival direction of 3A Atlas is 0.6%.
Reinstall that firewall.
I just said, well, that's interesting because 3A Atlas was at a distance of 3 light days from Earth at that time, and
Fuck these O-rings.
you just need about the output of a nuclear reactor on Earth, a gigawatt or so, to produce such a radio signal. By the way, Voyager, as of now, is 1 light day away from Earth. Just think about it. 1 light day, the farthest spacecraft we ever launched is 1 light day away, and the size of the Milky Way galaxy, we're talking about tens of thousands of light years. So 1 day out of tens of thousands of years, that's the difference between the distance that we managed to bridge so far compared to another civilization that may have sent something to us.
Gotta be done.
Now, have we ever observed?
Oh, my fucking cam's in such a weird spot today, but
that have changed
I still gotta build this side of the roll cage and put that fucking
There are fake
jet to a tail?
net in.
This is called an anti-tail when it's pointing.
Bar's gonna come down right here.
There were optical illusions in a situation where
For another day.
There is a tail
Get my mic plugged
pushed
in.
away from the sun by radiation and solar wind, but you're observing it as the Earth goes through the orbital plane of this object, of this comet, and you're seeing it from a perspective that it looks as if the tail is pointed at the sun, but in fact it's just a perspective thing. It's an optical illusion. And there were cases like that. That was seen, but as far as I know, none seen
Had to go
in
with
a
the
situation where it's
cam
clear
on the
in 3A Atlas,
other
which is
side
very far from the sun
from
and
the build
Earth
so I
and
can
so
see your chat.
towards the sun. There cannot be an optical illusion under these circumstances because it was approaching both the Earth and the sun roughly at the same direction. So I'm not aware of another, but most importantly, you should look at the response of the comet expert community to that anomaly. They say, well, comets are strange, we don't know. Maybe it's these are dust particles that are very big, so they don't get pushed back much. But then, how do you scatter sunlight? Usually you need particles that have a size of the order of the wavelength of the light that is being scattered. That's the most efficient process. And when you have dust particles, the ones that have sub-micrometer dimensions are dominating the scattering of sunlight. So why, in this
What
case, you
OCDs
have only big ones that are not getting pushed back?
Which is why this shit's gonna fucking
It
get
could
ripped
be
out. 'Cause I
fragments of ice that are scattering the sunlight that have nothing to do with dust, but those fragments of ice get evaporated, and so they don't have enough time to turn back. I wrote 2 papers on that trying to explain it. But my point is, many scientists are not curious. You would find it surprising. Why are they not curious? Why are they not willing to consider alternative explanations to what is commonly taught? And it's because they're afraid of taking any risk. And
I put my wheel.
I came from a background where I worked in cosmology, trying to figure out how, like, most of the matter in the universe is of a substance that we don't know. We call it dark matter. It's just to reflect our ignorance. Nobel Prizes were awarded for people who quantified how much dark matter there is, how much dark energy.
Oh yeah, they feel way better.
Constituents whose nature is unknown. And
I'm drifting to Bentley. I gotta get the wood grain wheel.
Completely common to propose ideas to explain anomalies. Dark matter is an anomaly. You don't know what it is. And people were rewarded for coming up with ideas, imaginative ideas that can be tested experimentally. That's the way you make progress. You don't know something. You are putting on the table possibilities, and then you motivate observers or experimentalists to figure out which one is the correct one. And that was the culture. And I think of
yeah, the red LED, bro. Definitely adds to it.
Trying to figure
Fuck, I mounted that today. Did I do it right?
When I get to work on
It's a little off-center, but whatever.
Asteroids, these objects, and consider imaginative possibilities to explain their anomalies the way I did in the context of cosmology, I encounter, a culture of mud wrestlers. It's different from chess players. And I don't want to mud wrestle. I don't want to get dirty.
Before I start a mod, I'm usually I'm not gonna wreck my desk this time. I'm not gonna fuck everything up. Just fucking ruin everything.
Once we collect, I just want as much evidence as possible so that they would not be able to shove the anomalies under the carpet of traditional thinking. That's my motivation.
Throw shit all over the place.
So that we will collect as much data as possible.
Oh, I had mute on my mic. Sorry, fam. Yeah, this steering wheel is ultra light. Like bounces back. Fucking excellent, fam. Thanks for letting me know. Appreciate it. You can hear me now, eh? Still getting used to this streaming shit, man. Don't do it every day.
And people started asking me a lot of questions. I got well known. At that point, the personal attack started. So it's jealousy. Yeah, it's there. But I can tell you that I learned my lesson. And I just ignore it. Yeah. And let me give you a few anecdotes of what happened to me this week. Just this week. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to go to California. There is a national park where
The computer must be low because that's quiet. Can't do a mod and not drive. Fuck, those pedals feel so much better.
pioneers, new frontiers. And he includes a statement from each of these scientists which are really educational for the students and postdocs that work with me. I should tell you, I got an email from a U.S. Air Force pilot. His daughter, Ariana, said to him, he wrote me an email and said,
Thanks for the likes and subs. I'll appreciate it.
my daughter wants to become a scientist now. She saw you on television, and now she only speaks about Oregon. 2 days later, I speak with a reporter from the London Times, and he puts out his report and says, I read the report for half an hour, 5 years, and they told me they want to become scientists. And, this is another thing that there are 2 things that are missed by my colleagues. One, it's an opportunity to excite the kids to get into science. That's an amazing. I mean, when we discovered the Higgs boson, it was an important confirmation of it.
Pushed on my pedal and getting nothing.
Even though it's an arranged marriage, I'm married to my
Hope it's not my mod.
philosophical questions.
I didn't touch the throttle though, so nothing should be talking about. Yeah. Maybe a calibration issue. I'm passing fucking slow lane though. Yesterday when I first did that mod, I couldn't even fucking pass anybody. Like I was like, holy fuck, I like it, but how much shit getting used to it am I gonna have to have? Obviously I don't like crashing. Better times, not more crashing. Which now what I'm getting. Gotta fucking say. This round has been pretty fucking good to me. I'm not getting my 90s. talk, like chills to talk to that many people. 'Cause shit like that. Nah, I gotta rewind it.
We should not ridicule ideas that are different than what the mainstream is doing because the mainstream makes mistakes. This wasn't
Yeah, it's like your brake actually engages now before you have to fucking push it all the way to the floor. See how easily I slowed down now that I know there's an engine coming. Gotta get used to it. I'm gonna be fully modding another G29 because this one, the micro switch is broken. I can't use it for PlayStation. So I need to mod another one. And I'll just be switching my head units out when I want to use PlayStation. Too bad that's just not triple screen though.
No, because that's the nature of working at the frontier.
I need to upgrade the PlayStation 5.
Every now and then, you might be right, and that will be a breakthrough, but you cannot have breakthroughs without...
It's not really worth its money and weight.
And it's really, the whole idea of tenure in academia is based on...
5K.
Fuck
you guys.
You want people
Look at the
focused
shitties,
so
man.
that they don't have job insecurity. Don't worry about that. So what these zealots,
Nice,
I
nice.
call them, say is, we don't want people to deviate from the beaten path because we base our
Oh, this is dope. I finally got everything set up. I can see my chat.
honors, awards, and so forth on past knowledge.
Found an old broken phone to fucking pin up so I can look at chat easy. Thanks for the likes.
How would it be proven if you keep ridiculing anything?
Just mods, my brother. My brother.
Most of the scientific community thought that rocks
I got a bad habit of smoking and driving. I gotta stop doing that. The same, I had like cigarettes all over here yesterday. I'm fucking trying to cut back. This is supposed to be a way to not smoke. Since I killed that race, let's do another one. Let's keep going until I fucking lose. I usually keep driving until I don't get first.
The sphere. This is the exosphere, by the way. It's covered with LED.
Yeah, I never thought about that. You're right. You do smoke and drive. You do smoke. Drive. Yeah, you smoke way more when you drive. Fuck am I thinking? That's so true. Why do you have to point that out? What the fuck is wrong with me? How do I not know that? Such a good point, just mods. Like all I do is fucking smoke when I drive on the way to work and shit. Fuck.
And Jane Rosenthal, the CEO of Tribeca.
Oh, that's classic.
And they made me
E-brake's not hooked up again. What is with Forza? Every time you fucking fire it up.
Build an observatory on top of the sphere because Jim Nolan really is interested in science and especially in finding whether there is some alien intelligence out there. And I said, of course, I would be delighted. So that was September 2024.
E-brake.
1 year after the sphere was opened with the U2 concert, as you may know. I don't know if you've been there. I've been there 2 years.
I also want to fucking
exactly.
back up.
So anyway, I was there just a few months ago
That
with
should be
my
the
research
rewind
team.
button.
We went all the way to the top and installed,
Back.
as you can see here, an array of infrared cameras that monitors the entire sky above Vegas at all times. So you can see some of these images show the landscape.
Always make sure your emergency brakes work. Fucking bent me yesterday. Japanese.
Performance that deviates from the envelope of human-made technologies. How do we do that? We have the sphere as one point, but then we put two copies of that observatory 10 kilometers away.
Fuck yeah, bro.
That allows us
I joined it out in 1530 on Xbox Game Hub or whatever. If you're on PC, just get Game Hub and add me on through there and fucking link up. Love the roll cage on this car. Yeah, go Jays, man. Hope they fucking win. It's been a lot of years since Canada had to fucking won the World Series. Fuck, this car's like blue. I should race this shit. I want to do a dirt race though. Fuck. This is a fucking stubborn wheel. Let's get a little better though.
Employ it for national security purposes. So my time was not wasted
One
as a
sec.
scientist. I'm doing something useful to society. The Department of War can use it. Have no problem. Everything made by humans, by the way, is boring as far as I'm concerned.
There's somebody knocking at my door.
From outside the solar system, which is not what the government should be about. The government should worry about national security, not about what lies outside the solar system. That's my job definition as an astrophysicist, okay? And I feel that this is worthy pursuing, but the Galileo project is really the first organized project that constructed a reliable set of sensors in an observatory configuration that does systematic study of the sky, collect millions of objects in the sky per year.
All right.
We have 3 observatories, one in Las Vegas, as I mentioned, and by the way, this is the first time it's mentioned publicly. And another one in Massachusetts, and a third one in Pennsylvania.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
And said, here's the money. Let me ask you, if it wasn't for those, how many observatories?
Yeah, I played some PUBG when I got home. I don't play Call of Duty, but I play the fuck out of PUBG. Which is gets my shooting out.
Making a trip to collect some data. There is what all that constant observation of scientific quality data. No, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's what I'm saying. That's crazy. And by the way, I gave a briefing to the U.S. Congress on May 1st.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
No, this one's heavy as fuck.
Recalculating route in 200 meters.
It's a JDM. I don't know if it's an NRG, but I couldn't fit the horn from it on with the mod, so I fucking put the Momo horn on.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
This one though, I find it better for drifting because it is heavy. Fucking a little thicker too. It's got nubs on the back of it. I'll pull over and show you.
The vested interest of government not to invest in research related to that,
It's got
which is what the Galileo project is doing.
thick nubs. It's a weighty fucking wheel though.
So we're having this conversation.
racing, not so much, just for drifting. But if I'm in, like I got the black Momo wheel if I'm doing fucking real competitive, because that one's like even lighter than all of them. But it's leather, so I don't even need to wear gloves or anything. It's fucking hands. Thanks for the like, yo. I want to get a couple more fucking, why can't I think right now? Knobs for my shifter. Get one with like it's like a big demon hand. I get an 8-ball. Those come off and on pretty easily now too. I just gotta set up a quick fucking Allen key in and out. Wood grain NRG or JDM style. This would be sick on a car. Like if I had a real car with this setup. My car's a fucking family car, not gonna lie. I just ripped my fucking car off, my 6-speed, a couple months ago. Ripped my Ultima off. That's when I got into sim racing because I needed to fucking shift again and felt like this would bring it back, which it did. Driving stick shift my whole life, not forced to drive a family car because I was in a shitty situation with the accident. It happens to the best of us. Just bringing this old Porsche right through the water. That's why I love gaming. You don't have to give a fuck. NRG ultralight wheel? Fuck, I'll have to check that out. I'm at the point where like I just love wheels. I want like a rack underneath my desk right there that I can just like pull wheels out and have like 10 of them. I'm like just like fucking OCD as fuck where I'm like, oh, it doesn't match perfectly. I want it to fucking match perfectly. And it's just, can't lie, like the feeling of pulling a wheel off and putting a different wheel on is just the shit. Once they get nice and like slippy like that, it's like effortless. That wood grain one I got, I don't know if I'm gonna switch the neck out on it or what, but it's a bit sticky though. Be sticky, eh, mate?
I agree. And as I explained at the beginning,
it's just human beings when they get to a position of any kind of authority, any sort of a position of respect. They want to keep everyone.
Gotta find a street race. Actually, I was headed to this one, so I haven't done yet. Forza just got an update. There's a bunch of races that I haven't done, apparently. I did every fucking race. steering wheels, yeah. No, I just need a car that I can switch them out of.
You have arrived at your
Because that'd be
destination.
even fucking doper. You need a lot of money for real cars.
This is the Space Force, the U.S. Space Command. So what I did is
Fucking hell.
this was around 2020.
Canyon Country Cross. What? Retro?
And,
What?
I expressed my frustration at dinner with the
I'll
chair
take
of
that
the
shit.
board on physics and astronomy of the National Academies, and there was a member there from Los Alamos National Laboratory, and he said, "Let
This
me help
is
you."
super hard to pick
We
from.
managed to reach out to the U.S. Space Command through the White House at the time.
The S1
And,
Civic fucking
We
goes
got
to, but you know what? The
official
A
letter from the U.S.
is
Space
almost a
Command
sure bet.
saying,
I'm taking the old Integra out.
and we can
Matches
verify
the wheel, too.
99.999% that this object, this meteor,
And the fucking new colors.
is not a meteor in size, came from outside the source.
Thanks for
That's
the
what
like.
they said. At that
Appreciate
point,
y'all.
we decided to lead an expedition to the Pacific Ocean, where the explosion was identified from the fireball. There was a huge amount of flame. To go there and search for the
Change my shit
materials
to-
from that object because it was moving fast. It was moving at 60 kilometers per second relative to the source. Very similar to here. So it was fast. And moreover, the object maintained its integrity down to the lower atmosphere. It didn't explode until it got within 20 kilometers.
This guy fucked me right up. Fucking like dipped right in front of me. What's that about? Hey Google, go home.
Okay.
I've never fucking done this race and it's throwing me everywhere. Fucking this thing definitely needs to be tuned. The gear ratio is fucked. $3 a.m. Holy fuck. So like 9 o'clock. This car's fucked. Like it's just like and all of a sudden it goes. Whoever fucking sold me this tune deserves a pocket. Unless I win this race, then I should shut up. Jesus. But I am racing with this heavy ass wheel too. Shifted. I had all that pace and I gave it away. I need top 3 at least. Might be a redo. Somebody else's tune, so I don't even feel bad. Fuck. Picked the wrong car for this shit. Why am I missing that every time? Literally won't let me hit it. I gotta come in like hard on that hill or something. fucking idiots. Can't do any better than fourth. Fuck, I will not fucking take it. I have to change my car. Fuck that shit. I never did like this fucking Integra. Every time I set it up, it's been set up fucked. letting me reverse. I missed it. I'm gonna have to win that again, I guess. Not a problem. I always think that's a right-hand turn. Looks like it's dipping for some reason. Got a little too crazy. Try to do that whole race without a mistake, then got a little too crazy. Fuck yeah, James for the win. Fuck yeah, bro.
Turn left.
It would though. We've gone this far.
Destination.
Pass me, motherfucker. I don't even know who the fuck you are. No stopping him. Ain't no stopping him. Man on a mission. Fucking slick as shit out. Oh, where's Fear and Racing? Right. Slow down so much earlier. Slippy ride, mate. I could just catch the groove, but not slip out of it. There we go. Or not. You think you're taking a turn, but you're actually fucking going off of it. Get ahead, Mike. Top 3 or it ain't for me, mate. Holy fuck. I'm not gonna get it like that, bro. I'm tired today. I think this is my last race. Haven't driven this shit in days, mate. Can't blame it on anyone else. Holy shit. Gotta remember, I'm getting used to new pedals. Can't slow down, but you gotta slow down, but you can't slow down. Just trying to keep it on the road. How's that? Don't think this wheel is helping. It's definitely more of a drift wheel. read more. Sorry, fam. Good change.
In 400 meters, turn left. Turn right. The next Horizon Arcade event will begin any minute now. Enjoy.
Can't go wrong with my Audis. Fucking love my Audis. Thanks for popping in, fam. Don't forget to like and sub. Appreciate y'all. Let's get a clean race before I shut this shit down. fucking asshole came up behind me and just smashed into me. Get the fuck out of here. Having a worse luck tonight. Oh man, I can't grab traction there. There's no way I'm getting out of the fucking way either. There we go, there we go. I like how they throw a little traffic in there to mix it up though. Bro, he totally hit that truck into me. Like, what the fuck? Fuck you, me Moriarty, you fucking crazy fucking bastard. Oh, I couldn't get in there. If I'm gonna pass him, I'm gonna have to do it properly. You so bitch. Spin my fucking all my reels and see what cars I won. Yeah, fuck that one. Super wheel spins. 210. I already own that truck. Sell it. Oh. Impulse super sword. As soon as I stop super spinning or whatever. $1,000 bucks. Maybe not. Give me another cog. Give me another cog. Give me another cog. Come on. Jagger. Seems like if you let it spin, you get a better fucking deal. 100 grand. Test out a new whip before I fucking shut this shit down. What did I get? Type D, that's new. X6. I might like this car actually. I love my BMWs. It was a nice call. Thanks for the likes, appreciate y'all. Thanks for popping in. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh shit. Just kidding. Would have been way worse than that, wouldn't it have been? Sure, bro? Motherfucker.
Arrived at your destination.
Hey Google, play some Joe Rogan podcast.
Playing the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify.
And then I found these, we found these molten droplets, you see, that are very distinct relative to grains of sand, and we isolated them. I had you can go to you can see here these molten droplets, and turns out that 10% of them did not have the composition of materials from the solar system. And so we studied them in the laboratory of my colleague at Harvard, Stein Jacobson, and I had a summer intern, Sophie Bergstrom, that found 850 of those molten droplets that allowed us to do the analysis. How did my colleagues respond to that? They said, oh, he went to the wrong place because there was a seismic signal that could have been misidentified and could have been a truck passing nearby. And so a reporter from the New York Times said, oh, they went to the wrong place because it was not a meteor, it was a truck. And I wrote to the reporter and I said, how irresponsible are you? You didn't even ask me. The data that led us to this place was based on the fireball, on the light that was detected by US government satellites. And the US Space Command confirmed the location. It was not based on the seismic detection of the signal. We just looked and found this.
So it seems like your colleagues are contacting the New York Times to try to dismiss you.
I wrote to the editor at the time and said, look, if this is what you write about science, how can we trust what you write about politics?
Right. Yeah. So these objects, these very small molten droplets,
right.
What did you determine from them?
We found that 10% of them had a chemical composition different than solar system materials that were found before. And again, my colleagues, some of them, said, oh, they found coal ash, you know, the burned material from coal. So we said, okay, well, let's check. We identified 61 elements from the periodic table and showed that it's definitely not coal ash. And then they said it's something else from the crust of the Earth. We checked that, it's not from the crust of the Earth. It's an endless battle to basically, I mean, they can throw mud without having access to the material.
I don't understand. This is a known meteorite. It hit Earth. You collected pieces of material from the scene where it hit.
Right.
And they still want to dismiss it.
Yeah, they say the government cannot be trusted. They raise a lot of dust. If you raise a lot of dust, you can say, I don't see anything.
Well, you get the New York Times involved, too, which is even stupider.
Well,
it's so crazy that the New York Times jumped in without contact.
But this is the landscape I have to operate in. And the one thread through this landscape is that common sense is not common.
Right. Well, it seems more than that. It seems like a coordinated attack. It seems like a bunch of people have personal vendetta.
Yes.
Which is probably based on...
What up, buddy? How you doing, cool gaming dad?
They just don't like people stepping...
Yo, what up, Janus?
You know, I told my students in the class...
nobody said shit for a while.
I said, on the first class, I said, what is the strongest force
checking out my
in
dash
academia?
and shit, you know.
It's not gravity. It's not electromagnetism. It's jealousy.
I would hope it's curiosity. That's what sucks.
That's what brought me into science.
Well, that's what you display.
You know, and I'm naive.
Just
You know, I don't change
Find an XP.
my reason for doing something just because other people misbehave.
Just
You know,
out
I
looking
feel
for
like
XP
I'm
for a
attending
nice
a party
ride.
where the attendees
Rush.
are misbehaving, and all I can hope for is for a guest to show up and change the situation. You know, one reason I'm seeking intelligence in interstellar space is I don't often find it in academia.
Well, I think addressing it helps. I think what you're doing helps. I think these kind of conversations do help because I don't think a lot of people are aware of the kind of resistance that you face. And I know it's a lot of what you discuss, and I wish it was less, but it's important for people to know that you have to go through this kind of nonsense.
Well, I don't...
Especially when you think this object, 3I Atlas, is weird. Yeah, it's weird.
You know,
Don't forget to like and
served
subscribe. Appreciate y'all.
The Israeli military, and
Check out the cool gaming dad's
we parachuted. We drove
YouTube. He's got some cool shit going.
That
Races
allowed me
and shit
to
too.
finish my PhD at age 24, and then the SDI, the Star Wars Initiative, President Reagan brought me to the U.S. And I remember while serving in the paratroopers that there was a saying that sometimes you have to put your body on the barbed wire so that your friends, colleagues, soldiers can
climb over your back.
Yes. And you know, as long as I allow young people to innovate, as long as I attract kids to science, I did my job. It's not about me, you see, it's about humanity getting better. And it will not get better with AI, as we discussed. It could get better with alien intelligence because we will realize that there is something else out there that is more accomplished than we are. Right. So it will serve as a role model. You know, in 1882, Friedrich Nietzsche said, God is dead. And since then, we had a century of modern science and technology where we feel hubris. You know, we are arrogant. You know, we're at the top of the food chain. You know, we go to restaurants, we eat other animals that are less intelligent than we are. But just think about it. If it turns out that we are not at the top of the food chain in the Milky Way galaxy. There is someone more intelligent than us. If that someone comes to visit Earth, will we be served in their soup?
I wouldn't think so. I would think there's plenty of other things to eat that aren't intelligent. I mean, that's sort of the deal that we make here. We eat things, but we try not to eat intelligent things, which is not entirely true because we eat a lot of octopus.
Yeah, I had this dilemma in
Octopus
Boston.
is quite intelligent.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of people in indigenous tribes that really prefer monkey meat. You know, those are human beings that love to eat monkeys. That gets a little weird too. But I don't think they're going to travel all the way over here to eat people. I think if we were that delicious, we would be eating each other a lot more
it's probably
often.
a situation where we are just like ants in the cracks of the pavement, and there is a biker passing by, and we are trying to make sounds and, you know, get attention. We think it's about us. It's always about us, according to us. But it's not about us.
Well, it's not about us cosmically. When you take into consideration the vast spans of the universe. But if I was an intelligent species and my curiosity led me to explore other intelligent species, and they were far more advanced than us, I think they would find us quite fascinating. That was the argument that I got into with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
What are y'all motherfuckers doing?
That interesting.
It's like, I wish you could
You have to keep in mind, he's not a practicing astrophysicist. He's not writing scientific papers. I write a paper almost every week.
Right.
I'm in the trenches doing science. It's very different. It's just like, you know, you have soccer players and you have commentators on the bench, you know, and you can be a commentator, popularize science, but the difference is that as a commentator, you will never score a goal.
Well, that's my position as a UFC.
Get in the fucking car, I'm not waiting all night.
Fight people.
Tell that motherfucker, let's go.
I understand the fighting. I can do my best to help explain it to people, but
Right.
I don't do it. So yeah,
You know, a few months ago,
defer to experts.
I was at a gathering, and there was a cocktail hour, and it was with celebrities, and I saw Margot Robbie standing, and of course I have nothing to offer, you know, like what kind of opening line would I start a conversation with? I didn't know how to start a conversation, so
Right.
I was just standing on the side, and then someone came with my book, Interstellar, and said, would you mind signing it for me? And so I signed the book, and she noticed it, and she came over and said, are you Avi Loeb? I really wanted to hear more about what you're doing. And we started a conversation for 20 minutes. Then I gave my talk, and Jerry Bruckheimer was in the audience. He is one of the most accomplished, you know. He came afterwards and said, I just finished F1, you know, the movie, and my next one is about a scientist like you, searching for UAPs and trying to figure them out. And then I saw Adrian Brody was standing there, and he told me, I really want to become a scientist. You know, I always wanted to become a scientist. I said, it's not too late. And then I went to Jerry and said, look, he should be your leading actor. Because Adrian really wanted to become a
Look at that, figuring it out for them. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, science fiction is one of the most popular genres of films ever, because everybody has curiosity about it.
But nature might be much more imaginative than the best script writers in Hollywood.
Very likely.
And so if we look up, we might get a much better movie. And there is actually the Rubin Observatory, funded by the National Science Foundation, Department of Energy in Chile. It was inaugurated in June.
Okay.
Time out. I'm pulled over for a sec. Oh shit. Slow lane must have snitched and got me fucking caught up with the cops. Just joking.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
See that motherfucker flying through the air?
Turn around when it is safe to do so. Recalculating route. In 200 meters. Turn right. Turn around when it is safe to do so.
gotta turn that GPS voice off. I'm sick of that shit. Every morning on the way to work, this bitch's voice. What up, fam?
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
podcast on the fucking Spotify there.
Okay, playing the Joe Rogan Experience
Yo,
on
what up,
Spotify.
Slowling? My brother. Fucking cops got me pulled over, man. Fucking, I just got out of jail because you fucking probably ratted on me when you got pulled over in the game. Just
No,
joking.
the VLT is a very large telescope by the European
joking around.
Southern Observatory, but this one was funded by the US, and it has a 3.2 gigapixel camera monitoring the southern sky every 4 nights.
Fuck, I had a
And
revelation.
it's
I'm
an
rebuilding my
amazing
roof
survey telescope.
out of fucking.
And by the way, Sphere has a
MDF
display
board.
that is the biggest in the
and
world.
I'm gonna fucking make it
of,
carbon fiber.
You know,
And then I'm gonna put a bar over
14,000
here.
by 14,000
And I'm gonna fucking
pixels. Okay, that's a factor of 13 less
put another
pixels
racing net so it
than
covers
the
the window, and
Rubin
we'll try and cut that
camera
bar off at a
has
45 and bring it
observing
in.
the rear sky. Now,
Yeah,
Rubin
it's
will
dope.
potentially, based on estimates, discover an interstellar object like 3I Atlas or even smaller every few months. So we are entering a new era where we will have a lot of visitors.
Yeah, man.
We recognize there might have been traffic
I mean,
all the time.
I thought I was done, then now I know I'm gonna do a bunch of shit to
And
this.
And
I'm gonna probably buy more wheels.
An organization. I wrote to the United
Eventually.
Nations about it. I wrote also
What up, Mohammed?
the International Astronomical Union to
Salute,
establish
brother.
an organization that will coordinate observations of these objects so we can figure out their nature and make sure, and then of course inform policymakers, the politicians, how to respond, because when you have a visitor to your backyard, you need to respond immediately. It's not like getting a radio signal from tens of thousands of light years away, where you have plenty of time to wait. Here you have to do something. And so I hope that they will do that. And actually the International Asteroid
some Joe Rogan and go
Warning
for a
Network
cruise.
just 2 days ago announced they will have a campaign looking at 3I
3I
Atlas
Atlas shit's
with
crazy.
a lot of
Tomorrow it's
observatories
supposed to fucking-
on Earth
some shit's supposed to pop
between
off.
November 27th and January 27th. So I'm very glad that they decided to do that. They are related to the United Nations.
Now, what is it about Chile? Is it the atmosphere? Is it the
Yeah, there is,
altitude?
as
Or
a
it's
result of
experience
geology,
science.
there is this stretch of mountains that was erected. And if you look at the map of Chile, it's sort of lying on a strip. And not only that the peaks reach a very high level so that you have less atmosphere between you and the stars. I mean, the real problem right now is actually Starlink satellites that are artificial lights in the sky, and we have to subtract them off because there are, you know, there will be tens of thousands of those.
Right.
We're trying to avoid city lights by going to these mountains, and then we have city lights in the sky.
Right.
But other than that, it's less atmosphere, so it's good to be high up. And in addition, it's not very turbulent. The weather is very good there. So there is the Atacama Desert, and there are many astronomical observatories there. And the other place where you have a lot of state-of-the-art facilities is Hawaii. The issue there is that there are severe political limitations because of the indigenous people there that are assigning religious sentiment to the mountains, so they cannot build more telescopes there. So Chile, I mean the government in Chile is encouraging science, and we are getting a lot of useful data from Chile.
Yeah, it's
I haven't driven it
we
all
need
time.
more of it, right? We need quite a bit more. We need some much more enhanced ability to observe the skies. If these
Right.
things are
89
out there, and we do
Ferrari.
miss a lot of them, and one of them could potentially be a civilization ender,
Yeah,
we
I
should
think
probably be
89
aware of that.
Ferrari.
I think also the president of the United States should be
Beautiful
aware of
car.
that.
Yeah, he should be. Have
And,
you ever
uh,
talked to him?
I haven't talked to him, but I spoke with others, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, Congressman.
Are they all aware
Tim,
of
Burchett?
your
Well, in fact, Luna, Representative Luna, she called me on the phone a couple of months ago and asked me for an update on 3I Atlas, and I promised to send her routine updates. I have essays that I write every day or two about the latest, and she's very interested. I did communicate with people around the White House, but I think the president should be aware of that. Of course, most likely, most objects would be
I like the car, but the car's
just rocks, you know?
Right.
By the way, this is the material that I brought back from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean in these
Oh,
tubes.
got some.
I brought one to show you here. And, you know, we should approach the universe with a sense of
99.
curiosity, but also modesty. You know, it's really,
Check out the old
we
Viper.
desperately need to be more modest.
Do you pay attention at all to all this UAP disclosure discussion and the discussion that there's some secret back engineering programs?
So a day after I was visiting AERO, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office at the Pentagon, I sit in Congress. I gave a briefing about the Galileo project, and next to me is Eric Davis, and he says, when I worked in government, I became aware of the fact that the US government has materials in its possession that it may have given to corporations like Lockheed Martin or others of crash sites of spacecraft from outside of this Earth, and including biological material. So on the one hand, I hear the day before that there is really nothing, because the AERO people said that they have access to all the information within government and they haven't found anything. And then a day later I hear Eric Davis saying what he said, and the question is, who should I believe? And my point is, I believe evidence. So I don't believe stories, because, you know, if there is a car accident, different people give you different accounts of what really happened. That's why FIFA is using cameras to monitor soccer games. They don't go and ask the players or the audience whether there was a goal in a controversial case, and they just use data. And so that is the scientific method. FIFA is using the scientific. So I don't care about stories, because when I was a kid, I would sit at the dinner table, ask a difficult question, and I would see the adults in the room inventing answers that made no sense as a kid.
Right.
And I decided, I don't care what about these stories from things that happened in the past or whatever. I just want to figure it out myself from data, being guided by data.
Have you spoken to Gary Nolan?
Appreciate you.
Of course.
Have you ever talked to him about some of
Jumping
these
out of this
anomalous
microwave.
alloys? What is your thoughts on those?
Well, the issue with
explain to people what they have found and how weird some of these things are.
Yes, so Gary, in collaboration with other scientists, looked into materials that were found under unusual circumstances, and they realized that the structure of the materials is very improbable to have been made naturally. Now, the issue I have with that is whether these materials were indeed they came from the sky, from some extraterrestrial origin, or whether someone produced it, you know, or a deep intention. Maybe it was another government that did something. So I really, in terms of evidence, I really need to get conclusive evidence that will convince me beyond any reasonable doubt. It's just like, you know, in
Rock
a jury.
solid chain of custody from the very beginning.
But the key is that without seeking it, you will never find it. So if you have the mindset that everything in the sky is rocks now, and that everything on Earth is materials we are familiar with, either from humans or natural process on Earth,
Holy fuck.
you will not
I didn't
invest
expect
time
that.
and resources to look for anything. And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Very often, you know, if you have these blinders,
fucking
just like with a horse, you
It's
put
right
blinders
here.
on your eyes, you can't look sideways. You don't see that there are things beyond your path. The path that is a beaten path. Everyone is taking that path. Why would, it's a waste of your time to do the same thing as others are doing. And science offers you a way out of that, collecting evidence.
Their way
But
under
for
this
that you
ditch.
need money, you need resources, you need prestige to be able to lead a team that goes in a different direction. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think science will be served much better if we were to explore different paths until we figure out the truth.
Yes. Did you ever get a look at any of these alloys?
Not the ones that
Gary
Gary looked at, and I saw his papers. But to me, the main uncertainty there is, where did it come from?
Right.
Now, someone could have manufactured. In the case of the meteor, I know that there was an explosion there from an object.
I understand what you're
yeah.
saying, but if they're being correct about the dates of these things, someone couldn't have manufactured them. The technology wasn't available.
Right,
Some
but-
of these are from the 1950s. For this alloy to have been created and layered atomically from the 1950s, that technology, as far as we know, is not available by us. So there's a lot of weird theories, and one of the weird theories is a break-off civilization that has somehow or another survived under the ocean. That's the kookiest one. But there's a lot of people that are talking about that as if it's a real possibility, that there are anomalous things they find in the ocean. They find things that plummet into the water and don't make a wave, and that they pass through the ocean going 500 knots, which we don't have any capability of doing anything
Right.
remotely like that with
Yeah.
the resistance of the ocean.
Representative Tim Burchett said
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And Tim Burchett was talking about these 5 areas that they know these anomalous things keep
How do I get
coming
on top
from.
of the building?
Yeah,
I gotta
this
jump
is very
from that
intriguing.
mountain.
We didn't survey most of the ocean surface area.
Right.
And
Forget about inside the ocean itself.
inside the ocean. So I think we should definitely look into the ocean and the rest of Earth. And
So that would be the most nutty thing of all time. If there was an advanced civilization living in the ocean the entire time, doing what? Monitoring us?
okay, speaking about nutty things, let me mention an example.
Okay.
You know, back in 1970, there was a graduate student at Princeton called Jacob Bekenstein, and he read papers written by Stephen Hawking, who said, Stephen Hawking demonstrated that when you take 2 black holes, the area surrounding the black holes, a black hole is an ultimate prison. Nothing can escape from it. It's just like Vegas. Anything that happens stays in it. But when you merge 2 black holes, the area surrounding them, the product of the merger, is always bigger than the sum of the areas. He demonstrated that mathematically. And then Bekenstein said, well, that's interesting because we know about the second law of thermodynamics where entropy always increases. So maybe the black holes have entropy related to their surface. And his mentor was John Wheeler at Princeton, and he said, you know, this is a crazy enough idea that it might be true. Speaking about nutty ideas.
Yeah.
And then Stephen Hawking heard Bekenstein speak about it, and he said, that's nonsense. That's nonsense, makes no sense. How do you prove it to be wrong? So he used quantum mechanics in a curved space-time around a black hole, and lo and behold, he found they emit radiation. They have a temperature. They have entropy. This is the biggest discovery, theoretical discovery of Stephen Hawking, celebrated since, you know, for 51 years now. And he went to disprove Bekenstein and prove him right. It was considered a crazy idea in the mind of the person who benefited most from discovering that Bekenstein was right. So my point about crazy ideas is, you know, and by the way, over the past 50 years, the mainstream of theoretical physics was obsessed with black hole entropy, trying to use it to figure out a theory that unifies quantum mechanics and gravity. We don't have that theory, by the way, and that's the reason, you know, if I ever meet an alien scientist, what is the first question I would ask? It's, what happened before the Big Bang? Because it defines our cosmic roots, but in addition to that, it also will help us figure out how to unify quantum mechanics and gravity, because Einstein's gravity breaks down when we go to the Big Bang, when the density of matter and radiation was infinite. So, you know, for example, if we knew how the universe started, what ingredients you need to put together, how much heat you want to apply to make our universe, you would have a recipe for making a universe. It's just like a recipe for a cake. If you have a recipe for a cake, you can become a baker, okay? If we had the recipe for making the Big Bang, we could apply to the job of God, because one of the defining feature of God is the ability to create the universe. And just think that what we call God could have been a very advanced scientist that did a laboratory experiment, created our universe in it.
Right.
So
That's what I would like to ask the aliens.
But let me ask you this:
I'm watching
when someone
some,
from the
Joe
government
Rogan,
tells you
you know,
about
some Bo Jogan
biologics and this
while I drive.
program,
Thanks, Nolan.
don't
Stop paying attention to
you
the road
want
there for a
to
second.
be able to see that somehow? If you ask
Sorry, I
if
didn't
it's
get you chat
possible,
earlier.
to try to set up meetings.
Yeah, when I ask, of course, you
Looking for XP
encounter
signs.
a brick wall. You know.
What did they say?
It was pretty hard. I had to like jump shit.
Well,
do all
when I
kinds of
visited
skills,
the Pentagon,
shit,
my question was, you know, is
You
there
get to the
something
XP
like that?
signs now.
And they deny it. Okay.
Right.
And
I'm
then
loving this
I'm
new
being
break
told
mod I
maybe
did,
it's
man.
not
Fuck.
inside government, maybe it was delegated to
Trying to get used to
corporations
that a
outside
bit, too.
government. And you know, one employee of one of these corporations told me privately, you know, it may not be wrong. So I don't know who to believe. You see, it's just like people tell me stories that I don't know whether to trust until I see it. And
He's
I'm
talking to
very
Avi
happy
Loeb.
to help government figure it out, you know, because it's a misuse of their privileges to attend to
some
data
reason you don't get
related what's
copyright for,
outside the
listening
solar
to Joe
system, right?
Rogan.
They're supposed to
Certain
deal with what
podcasts.
happens on Earth, on the surface of Earth, national security. They are not supposed to tell us what lies outside the solar system. And I want to help them figure it out. But they don't give me that data, and I don't know if it exists because I've never seen it.
Have you tried to pursue it though? Have you like gone through different channels to try to figure out if
Yeah,
there's
but
someone that you can communicate with?
So
if any
far,
of these
so far I didn't
various
get anywhere.
contract, because it's defense contractors. So that's the current most attractive theory is that the defense contractors.
It's possible, but
because if you had a project that they were trying to back engineer, those are the people that you bring it to, the people that make the actual rockets themselves, the people that make the jets and the spaceships. You bring it to them.
Right. But I should tell you that, you know, we always think, oh, AI is the future. We've never used AI in space. And to me, it would sound much more natural if we had a visitor with intelligence, but it's based on AI, not biologics. Because then it can survive the long journey, it will never get bored.
Which is why the biologics is weird.
It's weird.
If they have supposedly some, or that gives you more of an indication that maybe it is something from the ocean. If it's something from inside the ocean, and that it's a biological thing that, you know, at one point in time there was an advanced civilization that figured out a way to survive under the ocean.
You know, I really admire biology because think about our brain. It's using 20 watts. It's the size of the brain, the human brain, was limited by the metabolic power of the human body. It's using a fifth of the power of the human body. And that's the largest brain that an animal like us can have, given our body size and the amount of food that we use. So it's operating on 20 watts. Then you have these AI systems that are barely, you know, getting to the level of sophistication to imitate it, and they use gigawatts. We need nuclear powers, and biology figured it out. You know, that's amazing. Also, as much as you know, self-driving cars are amazing, we don't have self-replicating cars.
I'm out of here.
In nature, you know, you have animals like ourselves. You know, we replicate ourselves. We have kids that can function and consume materials from the environment. Just imagine your car, okay? Using the sand or using some stuff in the environment to repair itself. Every time you bump into something, it can create smaller cars for you to use. That's amazing. Like, we can't even imagine building a car that will self-replicate. And nature did it. So, to me, we are at the infancy of understanding how much better we can go than AI. Because if nature did it out of random processes and created such a brain on 20 watts, and we are struggling with gigawatts to imitate it, you know, there must be a better path forward that is similar to biology but much more powerful than random processes that happen on Earth. Right. And also self-replicating. So if you send a spacecraft to a planet, instead of, you know, sending many, you send just one that replicates and then sends more and so forth, and this thing fills up the galaxy. And by the way, yeah, that was a notion that von Neumann had before the DNA, a year before the DNA was discovered. So he realized that it could be done technologically before scientists realized that, you know, how nature does it. And I'm really at awe about, you know, I'm not just modest because of the vast expanses of space and time in the universe, and the real estate on Earth
Fucking
is
kickflip
such
the
a
clock,
small
fucking 180
amount
pop shot
compared to real estate out there. You
what's
have
up.
the real estate
I'm fucking getting better at it.
professionals now
Takes time,
mediating
especially
in the
when
Middle
I'm
East.
modding
But
different shit every day.
they
Like
deal
I
with real
modded my
estate
pedals and
on
that
this
really does
rock
change a
that
lot
is
of
3
feel.
millions of the mass
do
of the
one
sun.
race.
Just tiny rock. How much real estate there is in the cosmos? Just think about the realtors out there. And the point is, it's not just that.
Then
It's
again,
the
fuck a
fact that
race. I just want to cruise.
that we should be modest because many of those things existed before we came to it, before the Earth
I'm
was
enjoying just
formed.
going around and getting XP
So-
signs today.
The odds are there's many different stages of civilization out there. Not just our stage, but advanced and even not as advanced.
Yeah, I think about that like Darwinian
jumps out of nowhere.
selection. Darwinian selection is the
fun as
fittest
fuck.
survives.
Right.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, what is the fittest in the cosmic scheme of things? The fittest is a species that
Slow lanes,
realizes
right,
that
Andy?
staying on the rocks that you were born on is not the big deal. Becoming interstellar is the big deal. Going from one rock to another, from Earth to Mars, it's a nice step, baby step,
Right.
but it's not the real deal. The real deal is going interstellar, and if someone else figured it out, that someone built
Kinda hard to
monuments
race when you
that
work-
would survive
When you work
for
your ass
billions
off
of
all
years,
day and then you come
long
home. Some
before-
days I'm so
long
fucking tired that I know
beyond
I'm
what planets
actually not able to
can
race the way I
survive in
was the day
habitable
before
zone
just
around
because I'm
stars
fucking
because of the
back.
evolution of the star. And those are
Oh,
the
goes
ones
down.
that will be remembered by
got that XP
historians
sign.
of the Milky Way galaxy. You can ask, what will be remembered in the future? Here on Earth, history in the next decade or more than decade will be written by AI. It will not be written by humans. Okay, so we need to be kind to AI. We
I
should
was
not
fucking
unplug
flipping
them
over
because
by
they
this
will,
stuff.
they will write very bad history books. But
Appreciate you, fam.
in the Milky Way galaxy, whoever writes the
Make sure you like
history
and subscribe if it's your
will
first
not
time here.
remember us.
Appreciate you all.
The question of Enrico Fermi, where is everybody? Okay, you can ask the same thing about humans. There used to be 117
Forza 6.
billion
Spring. I'm
humans
gonna estimate spring
on Earth.
because
Right
they
now,
always
there are
drop in
8
fall.
billion.
So let's
Where
see
is
if they drop
everybody?
spring this time.
They died. So the
Nice
same is
anyway.
true about civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. Most of them died. Most of them perished. We were not around to listen to their cries for help. We just came recently to exist with telescopes just over the past centuries. So, and maybe when we hear cries like that, we say, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's
I
a
don't know.
natural process that makes
can
those
just
cries
tap
when you detect
and
the
it'll change
fast
your
radio
FOV.
bursts or something." My point is, there were lots of things like us, or even better than us, for billions of years.
I thought you could in
Just like
all
the Earth
Forzas.
was moving around the sun for
me, I
4.5
just hit
billion years
tab.
before the Vatican even existed,
Like
we can live under the illusion that
third
we are the
person,
most
and I'm
important
on
actor
three-
on the
three
cosmic
screens,
stage,
triple screen right
but
now.
we are probably not. And we should approach it from a sense
look.
of modesty that
One,
we are just
two,
minor actors. Let's figure out what's going on here. Let's find them,
three,
and then have some relationship with those. These are siblings, and of our family of intelligent civilizations. I had a group of religious scholars that came to Harvard just last year, and they asked me, if we find extraterrestrials, will it affect our religious beliefs? And I said, look, I have 2 daughters, and when the second one was born, it didn't take away any of the love that I had
yeah, no,
to the
I can
first
look
one.
right through it, but
So
the
thinking
way I
about
did
God
that was
as a
I
parent
mounted my
that can
monitors
attend
and then I
to
bring
only
it
one
forward
child
and forward and forward until it's
is
sitting
very
right in front of my
limiting.
wheel. So the
There may
base
be
is
lots
here,
of siblings
oh,
in our family of intelligent
base is here,
civilizations.
but the
If you
TV just
bring
hangs
all
just
that
over the desk
These
lip.
are beliefs that you
And this is a
have,
corner
and
desk.
they're
Then I
not
built it all in
necessarily
and put
based on
another
actual
TV
evidence.
stand on the
This is
left-hand
not
side to
real
hold the
evidence
third
of
one.
other civilizations.
It's just a number
Thanks for
game.
asking, though. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate
Okay,
that.
but that's not evidence.
Not
Thanks for
evidence.
coming in,
Right?
too.
So what do you think is the most interesting and compelling evidence
Abby!
of there being
Brother.
extraterrestrial life?
So, the reason I regard it as an important argument is the Copernican Principle, which is saying we are not unique. Under similar circumstances, if you start with a soup of
Forget to
chemicals
like
on a
and
planet,
subscribe.
you
That
get
shit
something
really
like
helps
us.
me.
Right.
And therefore there are
Just start
billions
out
of
with this.
Earth-Sun analogs, other houses in our cosmic suite. They might have had, many of them might have had residents like us. Now it's true that
If you have any questions, just ask.
Ourselves.
I don't mind answering questions about the sim, how I did it.
but only
Slow Lane Productions is another good guy to go to.
Right, and really recently.
Right.
You know, so it took a long time and a lot of weird things had to happen before it made out.
Right, but my point is, you know,
But the probability is that we wouldn't
but
be
just,
more likely.
just if you read the news every day, you realize that there is a lot of room for improvement. As much as we are proud of our intelligence, we are screwing up the world, okay? And my point is, I can imagine a lot of much more accomplished students in our class of intelligent civilizations, of course, and therefore we should have respect for the search for them, because we can learn from them. They would serve better role models for us. So I'm coming at it from a practical point of view. I'm saying we are screwing up things. Just read the news. And therefore, let's get inspiration, not from what we hear about stories of things that happen on Earth and so forth, not by the limited data set that we have on Earth, but collect as much data as possible about our cosmic neighborhood so that we can be inspired.
Of course. Now let me ask you this. What would you do, like if somebody just wrote you a blank check and said, Avi, you've got some great ideas, we need to figure out how to look for life out there in the universe.
How the fuck do you get up there?
Well, that's I wrote a paper about that, and I said,
What in the
yeah,
bloody
we
hell,
should, we should attack this question along several fronts. One of them, we have the Rubin Observatory in Chile that is monitoring the southern sky. We need a copy of it in the northern sky, so we have a full alert system that will notify us of interstellar objects coming in. We need interceptors, a spacecraft that when we detect with those two observatories, we detect an object that comes from outside the solar system, then we can maneuver a spacecraft so that it will meet it along its path. And in fact, the Juno spacecraft near Jupiter was almost capable of doing that. So I realized I wrote a paper about it, told Representative Luna about it, and she wrote a very gracious visionary letter to the interim administrator of NASA, Sean Duffy, encouraging NASA to try and use Juno to observe the flows of the Atlas. If Juno had all the initial fuel that they originally had, it could have collided with the Atlas. But it used most of it. And I spoke with the principal investigator of Juno, and he promised me that they will also use their radio antenna to look at the Atlas in the radio, just to see if there's any question. So, wait, so interceptors, in answer to your question, potential fleet of interceptors, things that can come really close and take a close-up photograph, because a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right. Okay? You're supposed to hit it off that mountain.
If I showed you a picture of something that looks technological, the Atlas has bolts on its surface and buttons that you can press. You will not argue that it's common. Okay? So we need things, cameras that come close to the object, potentially even land on it, bring materials back to Earth. Okay? And of course, the ability to detect such objects at large distances. That investment is at the level of billions of dollars. Okay? To do that in space. My argument is once the first encounter is verified, we will have $1 trillion per year for that, because we invest $2.4 trillion in military budgets, and when we know that there is alien technology that is putting Earth at risk, okay, then we should allocate a significant fraction of our military budgets to have a system that protects the Earth. It's called Planetary Defense, okay? And we are dealing not with rocks, we are dealing with technological gadgets, so it should be much more sophisticated. So I'm saying, let's start with the level of billions of dollars.
That is how you're gonna do it. Holy fuck, that's a lot of
if we encounter a clearly technological alien object, then the budget will rise by a factor of 1,000 from the military budget portion going into it. But in addition to that, of course, we should look for technological signatures in other ways. And I wrote papers about it over the years. I suggested searching for artificial lights. You look at a planet, it's illuminated by the star from one side. Okay? So as it moves around the star, it's just like the moon, you can see it, the illuminated side from different angles. Okay? However, if it has, on the night side, if it has artificial lighting, then what you see, you don't even have to resolve the planet, you see more light. than you expect based on reflection of starlight. Okay, so that's another thing you can search for. You can look for, the traditional way was looking for radio signals, which is just like waiting for a phone call. Nobody may call you when you're listening. So that didn't prove productive other than the wow signal. Then, in addition to that, I wrote a paper saying, look, we are planning to invest $10 billion in searching for the chemical fingerprints of microbes in atmospheres of exoplanets. That's what the astronomy community defined in the 2020 decadal survey is the highest priority, and it's called the Habitable World Observatory. And I said, okay, well, it's nice to search for those chemical fingerprints of microbes, but we can also search for, the chemical fingerprints of industrial pollution. In the Earth atmosphere, we pollute the atmosphere with all kinds of molecules that nature would have never made. CFCs, for example. And we can search for those. Again, the mainstream is, they might make a footnote saying, oh, that is also possible. But I'm saying this could be a major research frontier where you search for industrial pollution of planetary atmospheres. Frankly, I find microbes boring. I mean, obviously it will be amazing to find that life exists elsewhere, but we can learn much more from an intelligent neighbor than we can learn from microbes.
What are the best images that we have of 3I Atlas?
The best one so far was released by the Hubble Space Telescope, and it shows this jet pointed towards the sun. It was taken on July 21st, 2025.
That's the most clear image?
Yes, that's the best because that...
Yeah, it's actually
No, that's from the ground, Germany south. That's more recent. That's beyond the project. So it's blue. One of my slides, you can see the 3I Atlas, July 21st. Yeah. So it's one of the.
Bro, appreciate you sub. Thanks, man.
Yeah, you see it on the right here.
So
it's
that's
just getting started on this journey.
And the scale of the resolution.
I'm driving all the way to Forza 6.
The innermost pixel is
when I'm there.
Kilometers. Okay, it's about 100 kilometers per pixel or something. The object itself should be 10 times smaller, so you can't really resolve it. What you are seeing here is the glow of light around
go to the beginning of the video.
Scattering
You can
sunlight, and the
figure out how I
question
wanted my pedals
is,
today.
what is producing that light? What is scattering sunlight? And the unusual thing about it, as soon as this was released, the Comet experts said, oh yeah, now it's proven it's a comet. But I said, look, it's the sun-facing emission that is elongated. It's not the other side. The extent of the glow backwards, away from the sun, is the same as sideways. You don't see any cometary tail here. And in fact, we're looking at it just like a cigar along the long axis. So it should be 10 times longer than it is wide if you were to look at it from the side. Amazingly, the best image was obtained on October 2nd, 2025, when 3I Atlas came within 30 million kilometers of Mars. And it was taken by the high-rise camera on board the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is operated by NASA.
What did he say?
As you remember, October 1st was the government shutdown. So October 2nd, the data was taken, but it was never released. I wrote to the principal investigator of HiRISE, asked, can I get the data? I'm a scientist, you can do the press release afterwards. I would like to see it.
Right.
No response.